Will the Philadelphia 76ers start Eric Gordon? Could Caleb Martin be coming in off the bench? How about Guerschon Yabusele as a backup center to Joel Embiid? All of that is coming your way on today's 76ers Now, as we have a loaded show on the rundown for you. But we're 1 week away from 76ers Bucks season opener, October 23rd. I can't wait for it. If you're with me and if you're excited, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. And with that, let's talk some ball. This is 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and let's begin with this. Could Eric Gordon start? This is one of a couple of major moves that Philadelphia Nick Nurse could make going into the season opener against the Bucks, and of course, the Paul George injury factors into all of this. After starting Monday's preseason win against Atlanta, is the veteran in store for a larger role? Here's what Nick Nurse said, interestingly enough, about starting the veteran, who obviously Daryl Morey has a lot of ties with going back to both of their tenures with the Houston Rockets. You'll probably see some tinkering around with that right now, but tonight's decision was just kind of, Eric's a spacing shooting guy, Caleb's an energy guy, and I thought maybe we needed some energy off the bench with him. It's kind of just splitting up the three energetic wings, right? And then bringing in Kyle Lowry and Caleb. They're a little different who they are too, so just taking a look at that. That is classic coach speak. That is classic keeping it coy, competitor's advantage. But I'll tell you this, and obviously this goes without saying because the specialty for Eric Gordon, making it rain and connecting on shots from three-point range, because really at this point of his career, he's mostly just a three-point shooter. His spacing could be huge for Philadelphia for the same reasons that we talked about Jared McCain, maybe getting some minutes during the show a couple of days ago. And over the last 4 years, you look at the three-point numbers here for Eric Gordon. What's constant? It's being pretty efficient from beyond the arc. Last year with Phoenix, almost 38% on his threes. Year before that, 37%. 2021-2022 with Houston, 41.2%, and then the outlier there with more volume, his cold shooting year in 2020-2021 when he was under 33%, but really the strength for Eric Gordon and the consistency for Eric Gordon is that he'll kind of hover between 37-40% from downtown, and on this team, he can get a lot of looks because of the other primary offensive options that fall in line for Nick Nurse's offense before he does. And since 2016, three-pointers made, Gordon is 14th. And that's a pretty long sample size. I mean, that's 8 years right there. He's connected on 1,251 triples, and his three-point attempts are 14th. That's a pretty good ratio right there as he's chucked up 3,400 plus threes. Most 26 plus 26 plus foot three-pointers made. That is a mouthful right there. So players who have taken and made three-pointers of more than 26 feet. Hopefully I clarified that for you. Since 2016-2017, Eric Gordon is fourth. And look who he's behind. Obviously, there's a little bit of a gap and a margin here between James Harden in third place at 899 and Eric Gordon at 691, but this goes to show you the floor spacing. The knockdown ability from long range, Steph Curry 1, Damian Lillard 2, James Harden 3, Eric Gordon 4th. Like, that's pretty good category right there. And in that same time span, Eric Gordon ranks 4th in threes of 28 plus feet with 226 and 8th 30 plus feet with 46. So it's not just the three-point efficiency, it's not just the makes, it's not just the attempts, it's the range as well. Like Eric Gordon, a couple of feet beyond the three-point arc, catch and shoot guy, smooth stroke. He's able to find twine from distance. Here's what he had to say about his role. And by the way, Daryl Morey signed him to a vet min deal. So if he ends up connecting between 37 and 40% of his threes, he can start from time to time depending on the matchup and the opponent. What a great bargain deal for the Sixers team. Quote, my role is to fill those voids. Scoring, opening up the floor, things that I've always done for a long time. For me as a veteran, it's easier to navigate your role and who you are on the team. As long as I'm able to be myself on the team, everything kind of works out. And I've been on pretty good teams the last few years, so it does make it easier with your role, figuring it out and navigating what you can do best out there to help the team win. And remember what J.J. Redick brought to Philadelphia. Gordon can be that and more off the dribble. J.J. Redick could not create off the dribble. Eric Gordon can do that a little bit. I will say what Gordon doesn't do as good of a job of as compared to J.J. Redick, Redick and Embiid had that great camaraderie and the great connection on the dribble handoff. And J.J. Redick could come off that DHO or come off a screen and either dribble into his shot off platform and make those threes off balance with his body torqued a different direction. Eric Gordon can't really do that as well, but he will put the ball on the floor and can create off the bounce a little bit more. Percentage of three-pointers made assisted, J.J. Redick at 91.8%, Eric Gordon at 85.1%. So similar strengths, knocking down the three, but they're able to get their three-pointers in different ways. And honestly, coming off the dribble, I do like that dynamic ability. Of course, there are concerns defensively if Eric Gordon does start, but there were concerns defensively with J.J. Redick. That's why when he was on the floor late in some of those playoff games, he really did hurt Philadelphia while helping them offensively. So this is today's poll question. This will be the pinned comment as well, so let us know what you're thinking. Should Eric Gordon start for the 76ers? S for start, B for bench. Let me know. So we talked about Eric Gordon here. That's one move that Nick Nurse in Philadelphia could make, which would surprise a lot of people. Caleb Martin coming off the bench. Guerschon Yabusele as a backup center. I told you today's show was loaded. I wasn't lying to you, and I'm not lying to you when I tell you that PrizePicks is the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. Be sure to download the app, create an account, and when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and you use the code CLNS, you get $50 when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, and you can withdraw your winnings all within the app. There are 10 million active members right now who are playing PrizePicks. Myself and Chip, we are 2 of those people, and you should hop on board and join the PrizePicks momentum right now. And they're also running a special. Anthony Edwards, more than a half point. You pick the more, that's 1 point equaling 1 win. He only needs 1 point for you to win on opening night. So that's an easy dub because he's going to get a bucket. Elsewhere, Jason Tatum, less than 26.5 points against the Knicks. Knicks have a good defense. And LeBron James, more than 25 points on opening night against Minnesota and Anthony Edwards. So that's how the more or less game is played. And you get $50 right now when you play 5. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that code CLNS. So if Eric Gordon were to start for the Sixers like he did in that preseason game and Caleb Martin comes in off the bench, what does it mean for Martin? And what would his bench role look like? What would it entail? Well, first, let's hear from the head coach of the 76ers and Nick Nurse. I think what is he probably going to give us? He's probably going to give us energy off the bench, right? Which I thought we lacked in the previous game. It splits up Kyle Lowry and Eric a little bit, which is also a part of the plan. So just kind of maneuvering through different looks, I think it will be a little fluid as we go here for a little while. And you think about Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry. They are both shorter players, right? They're different players, but both shorter players. And do you want to switch up where you get that energy production from, where you get that influx of juice from? That's something that a head coach is obviously thinking about going into the season because he's trying to figure out what his rotation is going to be. One positive is that Caleb Martin has chemistry with Kyle Lowry. And sometimes for the Sixers last year, that second unit wasn't good. But because they've played with one another a lot, that's that chemistry which can help out that second unit. Chip and I have continued to say, this Sixers team is really deep. So when you have a deep team, you can afford to be malleable with your lineup. And that's both with your reserves and your starters. Here's what Martin had to say about Lowry. Obviously, I have a lot of experience with being with him in Miami. Just the way that he plays, he's smart. Me and him feed really well off of each other, just based off the chemistry we've had before, but he's real. He organizes things really, really well. And I've also said this on the show, right? Like, Kyle Lowry is an extension of Nick Nurse on the floor. He is a coach out there, so he can really help everybody else around him in running those backup point guard minutes. As for Martin's role, here's how he sees it. It's the same mindset. My mindset's always on how to impact the game, whether I start or come off the bench, whatever it is. I just try to find the best way possible to impact the game as much as needed. So which lineup do you think is better here? And I haven't really thought prior to the show and prior to that preseason game and before Nick Nurse's remarks about Eric Gordon starting for this team. But which lineup do you like better? Do you like Tyrese Maxey, Eric Gordon, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, and Joel Embiid? That's lineup A. So type A if that's the case. Do you like lineup B, which would be the one that we talked about all offseason, which is Maxey, Oubre, George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid? Let us know down in the comments section. And Chip, which lineup do you like?
Personally, I like the lineup better with Caleb Martin in there. I just think it offers you more versatility defensively, a little bit of a bigger body, someone that, even though, he's shorter, but he's tough and he fights. And if you went with lineup A and you're starting Eric Gordon, I get it. The spacing that he provides, especially if Kelly Oubre isn't consistent from three like he says he's going to be.
Right.
And maybe Caleb Martin isn't quite the close to 40% that he was in Miami as well, then maybe you do need Eric Gordon in there for the spacing. But I do worry a little bit about a Maxey Gordon defensive backcourt, even though I think Maxey can make a lot of strides and is better than a lot of people think defensively. I just think having Caleb Martin in there gives you someone that can, again, help on the glass, which we've seen be a very big problem for the 76ers. If you're relying on just Paul George, Kelly Oubre to hit the boards, I'd rather have Caleb Martin in there. I think it's better defensively. Now, Nick Nurse, I'm sure when they start the season, it'll be a little matchup dependent. He's going to mess with things. There's not going to be, I think, a set in stone starting lineup based off what I'm hearing from Nick Nurse. Or maybe he's just trying to, not let his plans be known for the start of the season as well. I would go Caleb Martin, but I would understand if they want that spacing, go Eric Gordon from time to time. And as he mentioned, split up Lowry and Gordon, because them playing together in the second unit might not be super ideal, being, both smaller veteran guys.
Yeah, I'd like Martin in there, and I know that he's not like the prototypical four, but it's not like this is the prototypical way that basketball is played now. Like, it's become a very positionless era, and I also think that defensively it helps you a little bit more as compared to having Eric Gordon on the floor, but it's obviously always good to have options. As the great Sam Hinkie once said, optionality. As for Yabusele at center, Nurse has given him some backup 5 minutes. Adem Bona hasn't seen in a lot of time, and obviously Bona is a player who's going to be playing for the Delaware Bluecoats a lot. Yabusele is a player who can stretch the floor. He's a big body who can hold it down on that low block. I think he's capable of doing that. Again, versatility. He can play the 4. He could play the 5. Obviously, Yabusele playing the 5 might happen more frequently on nights that Joel Embiid is not playing. So he would be the backup 5 to Andre Drummond. That's what I think is more realistic as compared to playing Adem Bona, who's a very raw player. Bona, the second-round pick out of UCLA, has just 11 minutes per game through 4 games. That's 15th on the Sixers. And Nurse has said he will likely spend time in the G League to try to iron out a lot of those flaws. And we kind of saw that coming, Chip, just because of the rawness and the inexperience to his game. I mean, after all, he didn't start playing basketball till he was a teenager.
Yeah, it makes sense. As much as we like the flashes Adem Bona has shown through Summer League and training camp, preseason, and we talked about him having the physical tools to be good, but he's just not there right now. You can kind of tell. He has a lot to learn, especially, he has the tools defensively, but got to be more disciplined, not foul as much, and offensively, just learn how to play in the NBA, right? So he has a ways to go. When these nights Embiid is out, probably not going to play many back-to-backs, going to be held out here and there. Can he survive against other, bigger backup centers? He's 6'8", but he's stocky. like 275, 285. So can he hold up against other true centers? You know, I don't think he's going to have to be guarding, if he's coming off the bench and guarding his second unit centers. I think he can do it. We have to see it, of course. He's done it a little bit in the preseason at a pretty solid level, but it's also preseason. So I need to see it to really believe 100% that he can be, you know, a backup 5 that when Embiid doesn't play and Drummond starts can play 20 to 25 minutes at that center position. You know, is he going to guard guys like Jokic? No. But, you know, can he guard some of these other backup centers for stretches and allow the Sixers to run this kind of 5-out offense, space the floor a little bit? It could be some interesting looks. So I think he can do it. I think he's strong enough. I think he fights hard enough on the glass. He had 11 rebounds in the Sixers' last preseason game on Monday. So I think he's capable. I'd be a little bit worried against, you know, 7-foot-plus physical centers, but we'll have to see to start the season. I'm sure, you know, clearly they trust him to do it, so I'll trust the coaching staff and what they decide to do.
Yeah, so we're going to round out the show with this. Do you trust Yabusele playing center? You could type Y for yes or N for no. He'd be a little bit undersized. He's more of that 4, but as a backup to Andre Drummond or a third-string center and a backup 4, I think that he fits fine in that role. So once again, let us know. Sound off with what you think, and thanks for watching.